never know about this. Not honor privilege to introduce our president. He's a native of Denmark, Pocahontas County. Charles and his wife Linda have 3 children, Nicole and Gonzalez Seller, Crispine and Arthur Sharp, Charles II and wife Michelle. We also have 8 grandchildren. I think when I started this, they had 1 or 2, so they've been pretty busy. But Trey, Noah, Evan. Make sure that's right. Trey, Noah, Evan, Owen, Charles III, which is known as CW, Lot, Hope, and Nora. There they are. All of them here today. They're all here today. Charles is a farmer in Pocahontas County. I'm going to show him that part today. We are proud that he's a farmer, and he's doing very well. Serving on the Western King Parker Board of Directors since 1983, Wilfong has been president of the Western King Parker Incorporated for the past 20 years, since 1997. He was vice president 6 years prior to that, and I believe he started out as a young partner. Here he's involved with agriculture. Wilfong has been the recipient of various awards, including Master Farmer Award and the FFA Star Partner Award. He's also the past president of the FFA. I want to mention too that he is the current member of the West Virginia University Board of Directors. Wilfong is a member of the Newcomb Community Church of Brother of Frosted, West Virginia. I will add that he is accident prone. And thus carrying vice president. Charles Wilfong, your president. Keep up.
God had to go to accident from a hard time there. I know there's been some talk about maybe he poster child with safety today. That didn't quite go over either. He said you got to give them around today. I did have something like recent accident. Roy and jumping truck through all the silos, and I met one of our conference. Never place to fly her. Needless to say, 1 hour as I went over the hill, over on stop. I had a little bit of leg problems and back problems since it lasted 3 weeks. Matter of fact, I was up at the hospital ordering in like 4 last. They were doing a list of tests. Hopefully it's gonna be getting around for too long. But, you know, we all have our issues to deal with. And, I just hope that it's like to get around a little bit. It's forbid me from being out of some of our county farm interviews. I used to try to get around about 26 year fall or season county interviews. I think I only made it from about 13 to 14 this year, and kind of got sidetracked with this little incident. Didn't make it for a few of them. I apologize for that. But as I mentioned earlier, it's really glad to see you out. Really glad to see you all this organization. What sets us apart is because of our active leadership all across the state. And you all, the things that we do on behalf of this organization, the state of West Creek, and our counties as well. But, this is an organization that like I say, what's the thing? I was just thinking back, I saw the Boggy Brands out, how we Boggy are into. So let's see what you have. He's probably out there talking. Where he can't be tonight, it's got the last time we had a county, State Farm here, and got his up 35 years ago. It's each year ahead of career. The facilities changed a whole lot since then. Yeah, I know that when we had that bee, it always wildfires along Canada and stuff. So I think you could already, you resort to still suck very well here. The skies are very gray. And now we got a few wildfires going on during this bee in some neighboring areas. 40 years ago, I mentioned this are being important. 40 years ago, this bee, it's where we were all being in Jacksonville, we had to eat 5 foot. Everybody that was there was that trap text mill couldn't get out. windows on all my cars. It was that was part of the manual read as well. Many of us got home and see a lot of destruction we got there, but we've got people that are dedicated. You pick up the cover our feet, you leave. Next, we have to do a haul, and you run the risk of things not blowing all we're gone. Ag is always in a chancery. We never really know that there is no inspection. Like Parliament deals with using any variables the way you do your work on farm. Even this year, we've seen the weather has played some real deals for us. We had a very wet spring. I know it wasn't. You feel what part of the state is really how severe it was, but I do were really helpful for our place. Trying to get things done to spring with a rainy the other day, and then it quits. And then we got really dry. We still got a lot of areas in the state you're dealing with dry weather, and it's you go from an abundance of rain to a total lack of rain. You're in the same season. It's it makes farming very interesting. The good news when it comes to the drought is much like last year. We had issues last year with drought. All across the state. This year it looks like we're going to have funding that's going to be available to help folks get through this year, through the rest of the year, and hopefully make up for some of the losses we had because of the dry weather. It probably won't be the same quality of program as we had last year because much of the assistance is based on the price of corn. And last year, they were basing your compensation coming to like beef cattle farmers at $52 per head per month for the time that you were going to get assistance. Right this year, it's down to about $43 or however the change in the price of corn. But it's still going to be a sizable chunk of money that we're going to have to help out. Luckily, we've got this kind of disaster funding was approved back in the spring in the big beautiful bill that Trump and Congress tried to rig. So that the funding's already there. It's not something that we're going to have to wait for Congress to provide the funding for. And programs are going to be much like last year. You're helping water systems with all paying off of water, along with the forest loss programs. But it's good to finally get our FSA people back to work. We just hope that too many loans aren't to other work so that we can keep our oaks there because they need to be there so that we have the opportunity to go in to apply for these programs that are out there. I mentioned that big beautiful bill. One thing that was in there that we've been working on for a long time is to try to get the estate tax on where the freest farmers and businesses, anybody with assets, we can pass those things on to our kids and grandkids. You have to go saving it all for 2/3. So, and when you're in that bill, we did get the estate tax raise, go $15 billion per person. And then, that takes care of a big part of the estates across the country. And a lot of the folks that don't really think how important it is. When you look, there was about 4% of the estates when it deals with farms, where 70% of the land is concentrated. So if you're going to put, we wouldn't have cut this extension and hoping that you roll back the estate tax for a long time, it would have been a total disaster for a lot of farmers, all across the country. Another part of that big bill was Section 179 stuff where we expense things off. Those expensing limits were raised a bunch. We got permanent, full bonus depreciation on purchase as well. And it also locked in a lot of the regular title effect rates for us to individuals. Commodity brokers, crop insurance, conservation work, a lot of those things are included in there too. And it is significant because the funding is already approved there. One day, we've been hearing a lot about the news these days because of this government shutdown. One of the things that they're trying to be put back is one leg that was eliminated in that big bill. Big bill. It did away with your SNAP, for example, we were called programs, and that paid only for illegals. Now we have folks that don't want to read up in the garden unless that nothing is true. And that's just something that I hope we want to do. So I don't think they're going to pay into that. Because it's something that those worms are reserved your U.S. citizens, hard to be the illegals to start. We got to get the government totally open back up. You start to get a lot of problems across the country. I think part of it was probably to get the attention of folks this election that happened this past week. And you're trying to bring out a lot of folks that might have been affected by some of those programs. And then notice how they saw this by design. Just some of the folks on the liberal side, I say wanted to bring out the recipients of the programs so that they made sure that they would never vote reduced. Kind of looks like it works. And it's kind of sad to think that some of the folks that we put in charge in this country, it's off your election. I never thought that I'd see whenever the largest city in the United States would elect as the Congress to be there. You got to set the policies. You got to be picking judges that support law enforcement. It's and this guy, this Mondani, this new mayor up there. I just hope this isn't something that spreads farther across the country to other states. It looks like it already is to some extent. You would think that we as a people and where you live in the country or where you live in the city, that you would know by now that all this free stuff that's being advertised through the social system never works. I have to blame our institutions to a certain degree. Evidently, we're not teaching young history and these folks so that they know you're really not the end result of socialism, communism is. But you can already hand out free stuff on you because somebody there paid the bills. And I've heard some videos here just because they're showing that you as 1% of the people in New York City pay 40% of the taxes. What happens to all these free stuff programs when is that 1% who support? And it looks like they on their way to go up there or someplace else out where he was. I'm not sure. I don't know. It's like there's a real estate boom, housing buying boom in Florida right now because the residents down there trying to use that they're thinking to buy now because they think they're going to flood the feet and they very well may be. I guess the one part of the election too that kind of frustrated me, that confused me was the difference in the men and women both. And what really put some of these far lefts in the office was the fact that 88 to 90% of the young ladies from 1830 voted for the socialist, the far leftists. What are we doing wrong? I don't know. I just don't understand how anybody can think that no matter what their issue is, how they can take the socialism could be a good thing. This guy in New Court, he didn't know. He made that shit. He thinks capitalism is evil. He wants to defund the police. He wants to divest everything doing the business. This guy's never had a job. He's never held a job in his life. And George Soros and a few of his other friends, they spent $40 million to use guy funds. And he was fuel away crop. That's why I'm really against politics as a farmer and in rural area. Whenever you go to elect officials, I think it's okay to do away with private property. we better be really, really careful. You're either got a skeptical, you are with all this artificial intelligence stuff that we're getting bombarded with. You going to supposedly kind of take over, a lot of the things they're doing along the rest of the country. Maybe this artificial intelligence needs some of these things. From the way that the eyes, like a whole bunch of them. As you know, we have, I found something else got interesting the past few days. I've been doing it across the border from it. And it had become forward, store already, and I found out that there's other interests. Well, you just been talking about for a long time. And now we've got some folks in Virginia and some people in West UFOs that are kind of rolling out the idea that some of the conservative counties on the western side of Virginia, you come to West, and even the three counties in western Maryland. And I found it kind of interesting. One of our senators, Senator Chris Rose, has already kind of drawn up a proposal with like 27 counties in Virginia and 3 Maryland counties to be part of West Virginia. It sounded nice to be the place that people might want around it. This probably never happened. Just something to talk about. Because it had to be approved by the legislators for both states and Congress as well. I get pretty good at tossing. But it sounds good on paper. That kind of activities only up got 3 times. And this is just perfect. Where it's carved out. RP, you guys, Kentucky, the first one of those is in 1792. Kentucky carved out Virginia. 1820, Maine was carved out Massachusetts. And then in 1862, where we were carved out. So, stays in, I'm sure, talk shows, make us get good podcast talk. God, as you think here. Also, this is kind of amazing. And, over the past several months, how peace is kind of brightening it out all over the world. There's a real difference when you have leadership from this country that is working. You're to try to fondness law, and you're to try to bring, peace among nations across the world. And it's, some of it has been through negotiations, some of it has been through trade deals, have been forced on folks in order. But they had to fight to be so do some deals. However, it has to be done. I think it's a good thing. It's probably not a secret that I support Trump quite a bit. Probably that might be a surprise to somebody. But I do wish he'd give me now so not beat for us. It's we've got a beat kind of market that is very strong. With some of the comments that's been made that I'm bringing up recipe down for we call it a little chaos in a week one. It seemed like the timing wasn't very good for us. A lot of our view, we were just kind of loaded up on these high-priced stairs. Then the price of thanks for about. By the numbers, I think we're still going to be okay. Within the zeros on the RCTV, it's gonna, I'd say anything, you win it, that'll let you back, but it's not really that much speed. But it's psychological impact. If there is going to be pressure brought on, on the beef industry to bring the price of beef down. And pay your traders well, and that's the thing to make money is you run it up and down. You're a steady market. Doesn't pay money for those guys. But the numbers, I still think we're going to be okay. And we got some problems with a lot of our commodities and the price of those all across the state of the country. I expect to get more out of that. We're still going to be okay for a while at least. But we have a whole lot going for us here in West Virginia on the economic side. We have a lot of business development. There's a lot of things that are coupled about deals that people made at fuel plants, creating jobs, doing things. You are never expanding the oil gas business. It's still looking good. The prices are pretty high of oil gas, but the production is ever growing. You would hear a lot of talk about the data centers that are going to be located all over the country. It's already some proposal out there. I know we have some policy to bring to deal with here later on today. You're dealing with how all these power lines and things that are going across a lot of farms. We have several people that are a lot of Chinese that are concerned about what's going on. I built these data centers in a state. In order we can prevent building these big lines across a lot of us. People were here to go to Virginia from Pennsylvania or wherever. Why not put the data centers where the crowds can be? So we don't have to. Listen to me, like that would be a whole lot better answer to the issue. We'll continue to ultimately discuss those and try to come up with something you would live with, and it'll be good for the state, be good for salt as well. Basically right now you have a very good legislature to deal with. It's way more works down on a day-to-day basis. It does super job. You're keeping them involved, but we're our issues. But the success really comes from our involvement. Wayne's got to set the table for us, all of our staff work on it. Our involvement as individuals with the legislators at home. With Speaker Hanshaw and Senate President Rankin, we got two really good friends. They're in leadership of the legislature. And a whole lot of the hooks, if they're there, you'll be helping less. That helps as well. They remember you help them, you elect jobs for it. I know I talked about this at some of the county meetings that I've been around. One of the things that you got done this past year was to get abuse processing. Some places where you process for sergeant sales tax on, some weren't. And so we got that cleared up this year so that there isn't no sales tax on it. You can take something into your process, slaughterhouse. You do not have to pay sales tax on it. That's something that I think would be helpful. Our folks. We have had quite a bit of other legislation that we got passed, we worked on for years. John mentioned one of them. I was newly appointed to that board of governors at West Virginia University. That was something that we had worked on for a long time to get a partner on that for covers. Because the farms, the university farms needed attention. They needed to be a higher priority diversity. So yes, he had a learning experience for me to be on that night. I'm not fake truth. I don't really sort of like he or did accept that, but it takes a lot of time. But something is very necessary. We have to keep your state without it. Let me be you. This year in the legislature, one thing probably be our number one priority. Everybody work together. We got some problems across the state with property value, farm property values. You're going up in some areas, going up considerably in some areas. Some counties not. All these property values are farmers valuations across the state, especially based on this capitalization formula that we worked out 20 years ago. But we've got it seen that some of our assessors were away from that. So when you ask the Attorney General and the legislative leaders to take a look at this, try to find out what is going on there, how we can address inequities there. It kind of seems that some of that inequity might be coming from our armed buildings, because That big thing. Assessors cannot assess our farm buildings or reduction costs. That can make our buildings work for the flat is. So, hey, stuff. We got a lot of buildings that cost us immense amount of money to rebuild them for wrestling costs. But they're obsolete. We're not even used anymore. You don't want to have to carry in on the old farm barns and buildings and things just because the tax work gets raised on it. So, as we did a few years ago, you were getting the tax removed on machinery, equipment, livestock. We're going to ask the legislature to remove the caps on farm buildings so that we don't have to deal with your old building, new buildings here, who's decided the value on them, whether it's placing costs or something in between. It would be a huge benefit. It's not a really good cost the state that much money. There's a few counties where there's that part stack would be a little higher than others. Remind a little bit of horse trading on what here. Trade law board hit that as well. They had a hearing on this in Charleston. We are allowed to testify that here. And it seems like we have quite a bit of support on legislators already. You just have to beat up to us to get it across the finish line. We know that with the possibilities in West Virginia, as I talked about a lot, we have a very bright future for the state of West Virginia, even not. But it's going to be really important that our relationship and all the political process is strong, because that's what has got us to work at today, to be able to get things passed or killed that need to be through the legislature. I think our educational outreach through our Marble Lab is important. It's agricultural issues and agriculture I fund these kids so that they're not just indoctrinated with things from the other side. Our involvement in our communities, as we're involved with things at Howard, every day, every week in our towns and counties across the state. That's what laces a political force in that field. There are high quality communications to be there for a magazine. What you see is through that thing all the time. Through our podcast, Tom and Ron and work on together. He gets the word out there positively to agriculture. You work of a Hopes Committee or Bill Barber Committee, you're continuing to do the things that you get the job done, bring in new folks to our organization. And surely, last but not least on that list is our partnership with the Kentucky Farm Bureau to provide us high quality insurance services across the state. You'll see a real growth over the last. We're back on a growth trajectory for West Virginia Farm Bureau membership. A whole lot of values to having a very, very successful insurance program. RK, your dog and pups have to be insurance every year. Thank you for that. We're going to hear from Emil later to give us a report on where they're at right now. Just a big show, guys. Just let you in. Thank each and every one of you do every day. It's up to the organizations like us to be there and standing up for our freedom. Our kids, the great kids, deserve to live in a free country as we do. And on this Veterans Day, we can't say thank you enough to our veterans and IT country folks that have been there and are really responsible for the freedoms we have. And they are our defenders of freedom. But we all, as individuals, also defenders of freedom. I'll leave it with that. Like I say, I appreciate you being here.
So be cool first.